This right here is the EasySMX X15, and EasySMX is known for making affordable controllers. And at first glance, this controller looks very similar. In fact, it looks a hell of a lot like this Xbox Series controller, and not the Doom design, obviously, but just the overall case design and the control layout. But with that said, even though this looks a lot like that, as far as functionality is concerned, does it hold up to that controller, or is it possibly better? Let's take a closer look. Now, the overall quality of this controller it's alright. Most of it is really light plastic. Like this controller compared to the Doom controller, very light. There is a heft to this one, where to this one, it's pretty airy. And the same theme goes across all of the controls. Buttons here, they are very hollow. I think the best type of video game to play to test the face buttons would be a beat 'em up. I wanted to play Streets of Rage, but because I'm careless and irresponsible, I didn't put the game back in its case. So we're gonna have to settle for Scott Pilgrim's versus the World. I said Pilgrims, and it's still sealed. You can beat them with one of them. Nothing like beating somebody with somebody else. Yeah, the plastic of the buttons does feel kind of hollow, but the actual membrane behind it feels pretty good. The buttons are responsive. They do feel cheap though. They don't get stuck though. I mean, the actual membrane pops up right away. Doesn't seem like there's any type of delay when popping back up. I wouldn't at all say that they are a pleasure to press though. Ah, hit by a bus. Dead. The D-pad, well, feels pretty good. I actually like the D-pad. It is a pretty harsh, sharp plastic. If you keep your thumbs centered here, you don't feel it too much. It's a similar D-pad to the one on this Doom one, only this one is not as sharp. If you take a look at the thickness of each of them, that cross in the center, it kind of sticks out more, and the points around the sides here are fairly pointy. This one right here, a little more comfortable to press. It has more of a tactile feel than this one, possibly membrane. I will say the dip places your thumbs in further and locks it in than the one that's on the Xbox controller, but that's kind of at the sacrifice of comfortability when you're pressing or sliding along the outside of it. It is responsive. I don't see any issues with it. See, it's pretty decent in fighting games, but when it comes to fighting games, you're really getting on that D-pad and sliding across it. And you can actually feel those edges on the side there. When it comes to the analog sticks, they're really responsive. They're pretty decent, but I just, for some reason, feel like these are a little more accurate. Like, I feel like I can strafe and follow the enemy more precisely with this one compared to this one. When you adjust the sensitivity, it gets a little better. And the one issue I did find while playing Doom 2016 on PC was that for some reason, if you hold this controller, it feels a lot more comfortable. Even though these have similar designs, it just feels like this controller is a little more ergonomic and places your thumbs in the exact place that you need them to be to comfortably control the analog sticks. When it comes to this, it just for some reason feels like it's not in a comfortable spot, and it doesn't feel as comfortable and smooth, I keep saying comfortable, to maneuver the analog sticks. Don't get me wrong, your thumbs are there, but it just feels like it's either stretched a little too far over and you have to adjust your thumbs in an uncomfortable spot in order to place them on the analog sticks. But with that said, it's not bad. On that note, let's go ahead and... Damn it. On that note, let's go ahead and test that polling rate and latency on them sticks. I will tell you, it's hard to keep your freaking thumbs on the stick while moving this fast. My hand's starting to tire. Alright, we got polling rate. Let's get closer. We got a polling rate of 125 hertz. We got a polling rate average. That was the max. The average is 119.32 hertz. We got a stability of 95%, minimal interval of 7.41 milliseconds, an average interval of 8.38 milliseconds, maximum interval of 30.04 milliseconds, and my jitter was 3.44 milliseconds. So, cable it is. It's not reading it with the wire in either. At least compare it to the Xbox 360 controller here. 360, whoa. Wait, now it has an Xbox Series X controller and an Xbox 360 controller. Yeah, there it goes. It's now working on the wired. 1,000 hertz for the max polling rate. Average was about 880, let's just say 2. And you got the stability of 88. Don't pick 6,000, don't do it. It was a stupid idea. I did it again the second time. We're looking at 125 hertz. Your average polling rate is 32.7 hertz. Stability 26.21%. Minimal interval was 15.0 milliseconds. Average 30.53 milliseconds. Maximum was 60.06 milliseconds, and jitter was 4.3 milliseconds. If we look at the graph, we got both the EasySMX and the Xbox. So here's probability percent. We got 90, latency 8 milliseconds, probability 92%. And then when we're looking at the X, I don't know why it has anyone, but it says latency is 31 milliseconds and probability is about 50%. But this says 8 milliseconds is the latency, and this one's 31 milliseconds. So if I'm reading this correctly, the EasySMX has less latency via Bluetooth than this Xbox controller? So even though I felt like this controller was more accurate, on paper this one is? Off camera I was testing the analog sticks Deadzones, and to be completely honest, it seems like those analog sticks are pretty accurate and always go back to absolute zero every single time. Now I tested it on hardwaretester.com, and it seems like we're getting at, still when the analog sticks are in the center, we're getting a negative 0.00002 on both analog sticks and both axes on 0 and 1. So them sticks are actually pretty good. They all are Hall effects, so they should be, but now I'll start babbling about the accuracy of those analog sticks. Let's move on. Now when it comes to the triggers back here, once again, going with that theme of feeling pretty hollow as far as the plastic, and you can actually hear how hollow that is compared to this Deem controller. Although this Deem controller cost $80. The spring is also better. As you can see, this one on the EasySMX rises faster than this one. Just like the 8-Bit Do Ultimate, for some odd reason, the controller won't work in the EA launcher in Bluetooth mode. It has to be connected via 2.4 gigahertz on the dongle. If you pay attention to the speedometer there, if I press it just a little, you'll see it gradually speeds up instead of just being on and off where it goes from 0 to 100. It activates as soon as you press it. Would you think that's a little bit of an exaggeration, sir? Same goes for this. It doesn't quite activate as soon as the Xbox when you have it. Look it. Wait. But now I'm pressing it, nothing's happening. It's a little more temperamental than the Xbox one. This one just seems to be calibrated a lot better. As soon as I press on it just a little, it's going. I hit it, it's gone. This one, just yet the EasySMX, it does at some point work, but if you really get on it, like it's getting on it right about there. This has a little more pressure before then it gets on it. I don't know, that's a shitty explanation, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. This one is calibrated a little better, and the pressure on this trigger is not as sensitive as the one on the EasySMX. As far as the buttons are concerned, both feel pretty good. This one feeling like better micro switches, but for the most part, this one is pretty good for the $30, $40 price. Alright, next I want to take a look at the turbo settings. There is a turbo button on the controller. I know this isn't necessarily the game that you should be trying this with. This is more beneficial in shooters. So you want to press T. This is manual auto fire. You're going to press T and A for the first time. Hold the A button, and A will achieve continuous trigger. So let's see if I press the turbo button and the actual fire button. The thing is if you hold this button, it already has continuous manual fire, so I don't know how well this is going to work in here, because you're already holding it down. But if you press T and that, like I said, it already does that, so I can't really see if that's working. It'll be beneficial in a game that even if you hold it down, it doesn't shoot. Let's go ahead. We're going to hold that. We're going to press that again. That's continuous trigger. If you press it again, it'll shut it off. T, right trigger. It's now off. Come in handy if you just want, let's say you're playing Galaga and you don't want to have to keep holding or pressing the shoot button. You go ahead and use that and it'll just continuously fire, and all you have to do is move around. Look at past me explaining auto fire like you gamers don't know what the hell that is. Welcome to the free, unnecessary education. On the back of the controller you do have two programmable buttons, whereas this one you don't. And they feel pretty good, and while holding the controller, your fingers do sit right there, so it's not at all a chore to press. And I keep forgetting what that button is for. That is the programmable button for these two back buttons here. We hit the programming button. We're going to hit M1. You get a vibration. Now let's hit the buttons we desire. Now hit that M1 button. I got a vibration that should be saved successfully. Now if I press that M1, we should get all those buttons that I pressed, but that hasn't been working. Nope. Pressing it and I'm getting nothing. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Let's try that again. Press M1. Successful. You also have an on and off switch. Go ahead and switch that on button on. You can see the controller has RGB. Minus and the D-pad up. And it changes the pattern. I think there's only like 2 patterns anyway. Changes it, yeah, lighting to colorful mode. And then if you hit down, it goes to steady mode. You can also press the plus and D-pad, which will adjust lighting color in a positive direction. And there are a few colors to cycle through. Well, what do I think of this EasySMX X15? Well, I was quite surprised that the sticks, as far as the polling rate is concerned, it had a it had a extremely lower latency rate compared to that Xbox Series controller. And that might have something to do with the Hall effect sticks that are in here. And might I look at that guy and ask him why? Why, sir, do you not have Hall effect sticks yet? We shall never know. But anyway, overall, the controller, even though some of the parts feel, I don't want to say cheap, but lesser quality, it's very light. The controller, functionality-wise, still functions pretty good. The sticks are pretty responsive. The buttons, despite the fact that they feel hollow, they work. The D-pad, even though I like the design of it, those harsh edges, they do kind of get you sometimes. But either way, the D-pad, despite that, works pretty well. At times, I did have some problems with connecting via Bluetooth, but eventually, after shutting it off and restarting it, it kind of worked. It kind of seems like when you're connecting it to that dongle, though, and not necessarily Bluetooth, you have to hold that button in until it connects and then let go of it. But either way, triggers work pretty good. The controller functions well enough to be well worth just paying the $40 if you're looking for a decent, cheap controller. I guess that's all I got to say about the EasySMX X15. I think in the next video, we're going to finally be taking a look at this cheap gaming projector that I picked up on AliExpress during those tough times where we were just in the dark about those pesky tariffs. If you have any questions about the EasySMX X15, please leave them in the comments down below. As for now, I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, instead of staring at my ugly mug, why don't you go ahead and check out one of our other videos? 1, 2, I'll wait. My busted face ain't going nowhere.